Greetings, I'm Solidus-Skully, and welcome back to the final part of the Streets of Rage 3 commentary. Meanwhile, in an alternate universe, yes, the police chief, he survives. But yes, indeedy, basically, with the police chief surviving, we pretty much have to go through the similar thing of what you had to do beforehand. I already explained how this level works. Destroy both shield generators and make it to the police chief in time, and yeah, he's pretty much safe to go. You do have to go through yet another boss fight against Jet and his little cronies with a rather annoying boss battle that I'm skipping over this time. But yeah, in this timeline, as you're going to be seeing in the upcoming cutscene, Adam will pretty much take the police chief over to City Hall to sort of deal with the imposter. And meanwhile, Blaze and the rest of the Streets of Rage gang can pretty much take on Mr. X good and proper in his secret hideout. We gotta get some rest. Oh, wouldn't we like to? But he created a robot effigy of the chief. Rather, yes, effigy. Rather Brogdanagian word for you to use, Axel. Shouldn't you go back and play your video games, as was the character description of you in Streets of Rage 1, to make you more relatable to the audience playing? But yeah, regardless of such though, well, we pretty much get Mr. X's location. Apropos of nothing really, which is a little bit strange, and also we were taken up and abducted by ninja traps. Oh, shucky darns really, but in any case, I also have a little co-commentator with me here. Little Chaos. Hello girl, what do you have to say about this? Yeah, she's just happy having a little purr, but either way, she's joining me for more Streets of Rage antics, no doubt wishing that she could be in the game, scratching everybody to death with her sharp claws, because she's a very angry cat. But she's also very cute. In fact, I might just go on record to say that she might just be the cutest cat that ever lived. But yeah, regardless of such though, compared to the previous City Hall level, this tends to be a little bit more of a, well, sort of a gauntlet of everything you pretty much faced up to this point. I mean, this pretty much has a lot of Mr. X's, like, you know, some of his most annoying goon-slash-enemies to sort of defend his stronghold here, and, yeah, that's pretty much all she wrote, really. It's not quite as interesting as the City Hall level, but, you know, you do get multiple areas as you do gradually make your way further and further into the base, so there is a nice sense of progression as you make your way towards there. It's, you know, just that it's pretty much throwing everything in the kitchen sink towards you, and, it's pretty much what she has to it. And yes, indeed, robots! And yeah, that's also Blaze's little thing, where she rushes forward with a sword. But sadly, I no longer have the sword. Failure. Oh. But yeah, do avoid those little traps down there, because otherwise, well, you will be abducted into the sky. And oh, we can't reach the apple thing. Is that meant to be an apple, or is that meant to be like a gelatin pie of some sort? Whatever, we can't get the jelly. Sad face. But yeah, I'd like to mention once again that these jumping robots, you know, they did appear in the Mr. X stronghold where they were holding the police chief / General Ivan Petrovich, but, you know, this was also a guy who also had them at the end of Streets of Rage 2, so, you know, once again, people complaining that this game jumped the shark with robots, you know, Streets of Rage 2 did it first, and that's the popular one. But yeah, these robots also have a tendency to explode, so stay away from their residue, otherwise you get an early taste of Sonic Adventure 2 syndrome with all the explosions and residue hurting you. The lasers and explosions turn into hurting you. But in any case, the only real difference between the various models is just, well, health boosts really, so, yeah, just hold on to your sword and abilities for as long as you can, and use Blaze's shining sword ability. Yes, no butter. Blaze has no butter. So yeah, that's pretty much all I've really got for this stage, really. I mean, I suppose I could sort of talk a little bit more about the American aspects of the plot that do at least tie a little bit more into the gameplay, or I suppose were in the Japanese part of the gameplay, but just didn't really have much of an impact, really. By the way, these are basically weaker versions of the Mr. X robot that we met beforehand, just that they're constantly sort of skating around, having a race, I suppose. But yeah, in any case, this is very much the factory where both the Rakution bombs were created, and indeed the cyborg plant. Which does also sort of tie into the fact that, again, Dr. Dahm, one of our erstwhile allies, yeah, he was responsible for creating a lot of this until, well, basically he ended up defecting from Mr. X, and this also results in one of his colleagues, Dr. Dahm, a crazy mad scientist who I think you can see in the backgrounds of this little area as you progress, and will be one of the big boss fights before we get to the head honcho himself, so yeah, stay tuned. Yeah, there he is. He's pretty much just sort of observing our progress and sticking a whole bunch of robots towards us. What a cheeky little scamp. But in any case, though, it does also pay a bit of continuity dividends to, you know, what exactly happened to Mr. X and why he's still abound. I mean, yes, we did kick the shit out of him once in Streets of Rage 1 and 2, so, yeah. Those, facial injuries, they ain't gonna heal very good since we gave him a lot of brain damage. It's gotta be protected. But yeah, needless to say that Dr. Dahm and his mastery of cybernetics, again, diving quite close to eSWAT, if you have ever played that game with, you know, increasing cybernetics and making people the ultimate police officer. I still follow the theory that they exist in the same universe, but anyway, let's just say that even Mr. X himself has had a few modifications since last we met. But anyway, we have a tertiary conveyor belt gimmick, we have robots bouncing all about, and of course we also have agents. We can't fight them with bullets, so instead we gotta move like they do. But yeah, overall though, as final gauntlet levels go, I mean, it is definitely challenging, but I don't know, I just found the City Hall level to be a little bit more interesting. I mean, that's not to say that this level is necessarily bad or anything, but I think what really gets me about it is really sort of, well, a matter of plot per distance traveled, and really I feel like here it would have been cool to sort of get a little bit more character growth on, you know, Dr. Zan, because, again, to kind of talk about his backstory here, which, you know, is quite appropriate. Yeah, Dr. Zan, part of the reason why, you know, he plays such a big role in these events is that he was the one who discovered the Rikution element, you know, in terms of radioactivity, and was working to sort of refine it for, you know, more benign purposes, but yeah, basically the Rikution element ended up destroying his body, and as such, he turned to cybernetics in order to get him to live, so, yeah. As it also further develops, he was also friends with General Ivan Petrovich, so yeah, it seems that he was rather a native of the, you know, Lima Islands, and was, you know, just a brilliant scientist who had his creation sort of turned against him, really. But anyway, the salient point that I was trying to get with here with plot per distance traveled is that I think it would have been cool to maybe get a bit of that explanation in the game, you know, just to sort of, I guess, sort of further fuel the level of dedication that he has towards, you know, stopping Mr. X and making sure that, you know, his creations aren't abused for evil, which, you know, would make sense and does also sort of follow through with how he was towards the end of, you know, the alternate Stage 7, for lack of a better phrase, you know, when he was at City Hall, was like, I will find you, Mr. X. No, you won't. Yes, I will. Excuse me, I just had a delicious meal between parts. As to the cat, and now she's having a little bit of a nap. But yeah, anyway, this is the boss fight against Dr. Dahm. The most annoying aspect of this is basically both the electric claw that he's pretty much using to grab down and collect his various toy prizes. No doubt a game he enjoyed in his youth, but yeah, if you go down the conveyor belt too often, then, well, you pretty much also have to deal with the laser gate that'll pip you 6 ways from Sunday, and, you know, the grabby claw isn't necessarily the biggest bane right here. It's its second phase, which does get a little bit fucky as we gradually work it down. Because, yeah, now it starts sparking, and as you're trying to take off a bit more of its health, well, that's pretty much when it ends up zapping you with its sparky Motron ouchie things. So yeah, that's a little bit balls, but yeah, as I mentioned beforehand with Dr. Dahm playing a bigger role in the American version, yeah, in the Japanese version he doesn't really tend to get a lot of explanation apart from, I suppose, being part of the reason why the cyborgs are really still being manufactured without Dr. Zan's presence, and in turn, well, the fact that he's pretty much just a replacement that Mr. X is using under his thumb, as well as acting as a means of preserving him. But what do I mean by that? Well, you'll just have to see as soon as we finish destroying this arm. Yeah, to be honest, I don't really know much of a safe way to take this thing out, because, I mean, even if you use regular punches, you're still gonna get, well, a nice dose of electricity, so yeah, this is about the most expedient way I have of defeating it, really. I mean, you do need to make sure that you get in line of its trajectory, so to speak, so that you're on the same level of plane, no, that you're in the same, axis, for lack of a better phrase, as the arms, so... Yeah, you're sort of kind of working with multiple different angles here, but don't really have much room to, you know, ensure your safety here, really, so, yeah, many deaths ahead, but, you know, it's pretty much all you can do at this stage. Oh no! My claw! No! But yes, it's here where we learn that Mr. X is now just a gigantic brain! And yeah, that's pretty much what he's been reduced to after his previous defeats, so... Yeah, basically, he is pretty much operating this entire nerve center as his base of operations, and, yeah. And he also fancies, he also fancies Axel. I'd also like to note that, Mr. X does have progeny, as, Streets of Rage 4 would later allude to, so, I guess he made some discoveries about himself, or maybe he's just desperate, you know, being a gigantic brain, and all. But yeah, basically he's pretty much leaving us with a time limit to detonate the bombs, unless of course we're able to stop him, so, yes. Here's where he pretty much unleashes our final boss fight of the now. A gigantic robot that just sort of spins around, is incredibly difficult to hit, and, well, yeah, can also certainly dish out some damage, so, yeah, I mean, even on some of the easier difficulties in the Japanese version, this boss fight pretty much has your work cut out for it, as, well, you know, you try desperately to get it done within the time limit. And, needless to say, since I am also sort of going for, you know, the alternate ending where, you know, things don't pan out, yeah, you're going to be seeing a bit of a failed take here, as well as yet another switch between another character. In this case, it's going to be Skate. But yeah, I mean, apart from being very agile and the fact that this robot can really get up on your grill and just sort of dodge a lot of your attacks, yeah, a bit of a difficult boss fight, partially because of its own strength and power, but another part of the reason is simply because of the fact that it does have a lot of its, no, you can't hit me because I'm dancing around like a ballerina. What I always wanted to do before I was dragged into a life of crime. So I assume that's Mr. X's backstory. Maybe he just really wanted to be a ballet dancer. But his teacher didn't think he could master Tappa Tappa Tappa. So, alas, Twinkle Toes McTootum became Mr. X. A bitter, jaded criminal empire man who desperately wanted to dance. So that's why he's put it up against Blaze. She dances the lambada, he dances the Twinkle Tones tap dance. But that's why we're here to have Skate pretty much pick up the reins and, yeah, showing off a few of his attacks, including the rather kiddie special attack he has where he pretty much goes, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, going, But yeah, I mean, Skate, compared to the other characters, is also the fastest, you know, when he utilizes his skating abilities, so... Yeah, he does pretty much allow himself to run a wee bit faster, and that's pretty much all she wrote, really. Again, it's pretty much because of his little fuck you attack that I'm pretty much been able to deal as much damage towards Mr. X as I can, but... yeah, even with Skate, things didn't pan out as well as I hoped, so, a second take was indeed in order before I show you guys a good ending, but you will be seeing that in this very part, so... You know, all is good in the hood. Or rather, won't be good in the hood, because again, as the Japanese plot implies, yeah, Rikution elements, bombs, nuclear explosives, and, yeah, it also sort of explains a little bit of a bizarre plot point that I did want to bring up in terms of this game's ending. At least with a bad ending if you fail to let the explosive blow. I pretty much say something towards the end like, oh no, the city will never trust the police and law enforcement again, but I was wondering, why? I mean, yeah, it's pretty devastating, but... You know, nothing that can't be cleaned up in a while, but then I learned the fact of, yeah, nukes successfully exploded, so, yeah, everything's uninhabitable, and basically the city is a fucking wasteland, worse than it's ever been before. Oh dear. Whee! Boom. But yeah, I mean, this is also sort of the good-ish ending, where we stop Mr. X, technically speaking, and his operation is pretty much bust, but, well, the city's been fucking destroyed, really, so, yeah, I mean, our characters escape, technically speaking, so, oh no, bittersweet. Yeah, well, I suppose more of a downer ending, they couldn't stop it in time, but, Mr. X is gone, so... question, if you think they're all gonna die, well, they don't. Because they're saved just in time by Adam, the true hero of the game. We gotta look for a way out. Oh, the doors are locked. How will we survive our Resident Evil escape sequence this time? It's Adam! Whoopee, woohoo, yeehaw, and yeah. And speaking of Resident Evil, now we also get to see the Mega Drive version of the Resident Evil escape sequence. Oh no, the mansion blew up. But don't worry, Mega Drive era Chris, Jill, Barry, and Rebecca escape in the helicopter. But yeah, it also ends up playing the whole dun you failed. The Syndicate's headquarters in Robot Factory were destroyed in the explosion, and the team managed to escape in Adam's helicopter. But Mr. X succeeded in leaving his mark on the city. The destructive force of the bomb explosion killed many people and wrecked many buildings. And, you know, also radiation sickness, but we don't talk about that. It'll take a very long time to repair the damage caused to the fabric of the city. And the confidence of those citizens who trusted the forces of good. Oh no, now they'll just trust the forces of evil, and thus swearing Mr. X into politics. And thus the cycle begins again. But meanwhile, in an alternate universe, backslam! There we go, just in time, and we have achieved the good ending. But of course, as is typical with cheeky naming, we have to save this save file just as God intended. Yes indeed, we shall name it as Ass, because I'm the most mature person. But yeah, you do also get different dialogue depending on whether or not the bombs were detonated or, anything else really. I'm dying, please help me. You got to be kidding. So yeah, basically it's still the same sort of thing going on. It's basically, please help me. No. Ah, well, fuck you get to die too. And thus explosions going in everywhere, and the place is gonna blow. Doors are locked and everybody's pretty much panicking. But then Adam pretty much comes and saves the day, so whoopee, weehaw, yoo-hoo, and yeah. And then we pretty much get our positive epilogue and, well, and the credits really. We've had it. What are we gonna do? Save us, Adam. Bring us back to our other Resident Evil closing sequence on Mega Drive hardware. Oh, thank goodness, but maybe this is the one where Jill escapes alone and cries for her lost companions. Yay, the team survived! Woohoo! God, some of these faces look a bit unusual. Yeah, I mean, particularly Skate's face. I mean, I don't really know what artists they had working on that thing, but it kind of reminds me of the Persona 1 localization, where they had one of the characters who was initially Japanese, but they also, altered his skin color to be black in the American localization, which kind of had a bit of an odd, uncanny valley sort of effect to it, but anyway. Yeah, Syndicate's headquarters were destroyed, everybody was pretty much saved the day. Dr. Dahm informed the police. Huh. So yeah, Dr. Dahm was arrested, and basically, Dr. Zan's given a full pardon. I think Streets of Rage 4 also goes out of its way to imply that he also helps to repair the damage done by the bombs already, so, he does patch up the city to the best of his ability. And basically the rest of the team pretty much kick back, take 5, and go their separate ways to just sort of relax. And a lot of what we're going to be seeing is basically that during the credits. Skate pretty much enjoying his childhood, Adam returning to the police force, Blaze pretty much taking some time to chill out on the beach, and Adam, as we'll see in the credits, practicing Kung Fu. So it's all good in the hood, and that, dudes and dudettes, was Streets of Rage 3. Again, I've pretty much just sort of rambled on and on about all the deficiencies that Streets of Rage has. Again, difficulty gating, some rather bizarre choices of editing in terms of the enemy palettes and character color customizations, but I do feel like Streets of Rage 3 does have a lot of good. I mean, in terms of refining the combat system, I think it's about the best that it had ever been until Streets of Rage 4 came out. I do like the diverging stage pathways, I like the heavier story focus, and had the Japanese plot been, well, the default one, which Streets of Rage 4 treats it as, the main canon one, overall, I really enjoy Streets of Rage 3. Story's great, has a really fucking kickin' soundtrack, and the gameplay is really solid. I mean, if the localization team hadn't fucked up and, giving the West a very shitty port of the game, quite frankly, I think it honestly would have been up there as just as good, if not slightly better than Streets of Rage 2, to be honest, so yeah, just take that for what you will. So yeah, that's pretty much all the Streets of Rage games I really plan to cover at this stage. I mean, I might end up covering Streets of Rage 4 at some point in the future, but I think that'll be a long way away. But either way, in terms of anything else you have to look forward to, I'm just sort of biting my lips trying to wonder what exactly is being released at this point in time, because, you know, I mean, as of this week, I'm still uploading the last 2 parts of the Sonic X Shadow Generations portion for Shadow's story, so I know you've still got a couple of parts of, you know, the Sonic Generations portion left to go, which should take up a fair amount of January, so I'm wondering, you probably would have already seen, I want to say Crash Bandicoot Wrath of Cortex on Australia Day, possibly, but, yeah, I mean, you either have that to look forward to on, you know, January 26th, or after that you'll probably be seeing, well, this commentary obviously, and then after that will be Comic Zone, which will be debuting right after Streets of Rage 3, so, hello, that's a lovely swimsuit. Stay focused. Yeah, but after that you're also going to be getting Freelancer and, yeah, just a Comic Zone, Freelancer, then following that in May 15th, Kingdom Hearts 3, so yeah, fair amount to look forward to, and hopefully we'll have a few more reviews underway by then, so yeah. I mean, admittedly, I do have a bit of my work cut out for me for reviewing Sonic Adventure Heroes and Shadow the Hedgehog with some rather lengthy scripts, so yeah, that's gonna take a little while, but overall, I have fun with this, so yeah, not too much else to really say, because after all, there is no accounting for taste. And then there's Dr. Zan. He's leaving us. Where he plans to go, nobody knows. Will we see him again? Well, God willing, we all meet again in Streets of Rage 5. The search for more sequels in a franchise that, honest to God, I think deserves it. I mean, that being said, I would love to have, I mean, again, like, the Ryuga Gotoku team is working on a Virtual Fighter 6, so you know what, I'm curious, could they technically turn their talents, you know, with a fighting engine from, you know, Judgment and the Yakuza games towards a 3D Streets of Rage game? That, I think, would be a very interesting challenge to see them tackle, and I mean, if they're up to it, I think it would be quite cool, but, again, hopes, dreams, and wishes, they're very often dashed, but, it's neither here nor there in this case. So, I suppose it's, sign-off time, I suppose. So in that case, I'm Solidus-Skully, keep it new metal, this is Chaos the Cat. She's currently licking her fur and not very interested in the credits going on screen, so, yes. Yeah, keep it new metal, and, catch your do's and dudettes next time for either Crash Bandicoot the Wrath of Cortex on Australia Day, or, Comic Zone, coming up next.